Thursday, June the 6th, 2019, the 75th anniversary of D-Day. Very poignant day today. God rest their souls and thank them for what they did for saving this country. Down in Appleford, Oxfordshire, South Oxfordshire, near Didcot, about to undertake a 12-mile circular, hopefully, because the train times from this station are very sparse. So depending on where I'm at and what time it is later, I could finish at Didcot or here. So let's see how it goes. At the moment the weather's pretty good, as you can see. Bit of a mixed bag forecast though. Some showers predicted between now and 2 o'clock, typically. But yeah, so far so good. So let's press on. It's 1:45 already. No footpath there on the bridge that you cross over. The road is actually quite busy as well. So we're turning left here by this little green, continuing up this hopefully quieter lane. Got the church here of St Peter and St Paul, Appleford. This stile is ignored. Clearly an old sign. No sign of any crops there at the moment. Looking back towards the industrial, or formerly industrial, railway building centre that Didcot was. St Peter and St Paul again. The large oak tree referred to in the text, where we fork left here, as forecast, it's getting a bit cloudy at the moment. I think it was about a 40% chance of catching the rain. Fingers crossed I'm in the 60%. Crossing over a footbridge. Surrounded by willows and barley here. Well maintained paths thus far. Crossing over the concrete footbridge referred to in the text, and a barren stream that it crosses. Grey heron there watching me. Not sure what this river is on my left. Presumably the Isis or Thames. Yes, it is the Thames. It's amazing, just like clockwork, with the arrival of June the 1st, many of the bird songs have now disappeared, but the omnipresent chiff-chaff continues. One of the few that does. Lovely flower meadow here on my right. Rather appropriately passing a war memorial on my left. And some pleasant thatched cottages. One very recently done over there. This is the village of Long Wittenham, which has the possibility of an evening pub stop there. Quite busy, as you can see. Now following a car-wide byway. Wittenham Clumps over there on my right, which I believe we climb later. Now doing a bit of road walking for 750 metres. Looks like remnants of the war here, once again, rather appropriately today. Yeah, pillbox here, just outside New Barn Farm. Second World War one by the looks of it. Oh, just before this large barn, which belongs to Northfield Farm, we swing off right here, left here. So far so good with the weather. I am in the 60% thus far. Now following a wide greenway between hedges towards that wood. Didcot's famous cooling towers come into view over there on my left. Not much else to write home about really. Lots of cornfields of various types. I must check out what this tall version of the cow parsley family is. It's about 10-12 foot high, and obviously more in season now than the cow parsley, which is turned over. Yeah, check that out. I don't think they are actually, not judging by all the buttercups in it. Not sure who the Earth Trust are, but sounds good. You've got a wonderful contrast of red-tipped grasses in that field on my left. And the yellow buttercups in this field that I'm walking through. Look at that. Fantastic. Okay, we're now back on the Thames Path. There is said river with some lovely lily pads there, yellow ones that I like as well. Onward journey is right here for about 3.2 kilometres. Good view of Wittenham Clump over there. As not sure if I just felt a spot of rain. Hope not. Looks ominous, doesn't it? Got some top dollar houses on the opposite bank, and private mooring and so forth. Yeah, now the wind's picking up. I wonder if I'm going to get wet. Let's see. Small herd of cows here. The other ones were calm enough, but I'm glad those Frisian looking types are in the far corner of this field, because they're usually the ones that are more aggressive. In my experience anyway. Some would say inquisitive rather than aggressive, but You know, that's just the way I interpret it. Nice home office. Listen to that song. Clearly a warning note. And I wonder which sort of warbler it is, because invariably it is one. Have to check that out as well. Setties, don't know. No, in fact it was a reed bunting. And yet more cattle. I'm glad there's an electric fence though between me and them. That's all it takes for everybody to be at peace. Decent vista on my left across the Thames. Those hills in the distance must be the Chilterns. Not totally sure. Not sure which direction I'm looking in, to be honest. If this river's flowing north-south, then that's east I'm looking in. So yeah, it would be Chiltern Ridge, I guess. The old sheep making use of the war bunker there. Plenty of river traffic today. Approaching the weir at Little Wittenham, I believe it is, with the clumps behind. So here we go, across the weir. This is the official Thames Path still. Looking south towards the clumps. And north from whence I've walked along that river bank there. So far so good weather-wise, can't complain. Bit breezy, riverside, but that's very cooling in fact. Crossing Day's Lock, which was in use, so I had to wait for it to open and close. Information panel here about it. That's a mean looking bull there. He's looking mean because he's got a couple of cows in the field opposite and me in the middle, walking through this path by the looks of it. He's a prize specimen. Wouldn't want to meet him in a field on my own. Information panel here about Dorchester-on-Thames as opposed to the one in Dorset. The clumps from another angle on the footpath into Dorchester. Surrounding scenery as well. We've got some lovely poppies here. Wonderful. Once again, very poignant as we remember those that died in the war. D-Day. There's a bit of building work going on by the footpath to Day's Lock, but you can still get round it just. And then you pass these allotments, and we're now on the path heading towards the cathedral, believe it or not. information panel here about us walking across where Romans lived. This is Hempcroft allotments. If anyone wants to Google that. There you go. The clump in the distance. Wonderful little place. I'd imagine just living here would chill most people out. So here we are, the recommended lunchtime stop in Dorchester, the Fleur de Lis, but I'm reliably informed that this is yet another victim of the pub closures. Let's authenticate that. We had one last week and now I think we've got another. So there you have it, no longer a pub, which kind of messes up this walk, I think. Anyway, let's go and find a seat and have my lunch in the cathedral. Lots of appropriate symbolism today on D-Day. Very nice carriage outside the George Hotel, which I suppose is an alternative lunchtime stop, I don't know. The Abbey does teas. So maybe I got that wrong, it's not a cathedral, it's an abbey. Interesting way of advertising services in the abbey. On the Lichgate post. So another St Peter and St Paul. Diocese of Oxford, of course. Google that if you want to learn more about Dorchester Abbey. The clock's about right. Late lunch today. Former grammar school by the looks of it. Wonderful little cottage over there in the grounds of the Abbey. There are a number of seats to the rear of the Abbey. They're the best ones, but some people over there. So I'll take that remaining one in the sun there. Okay, 3:30 or thereabouts. Lunch has been had. Respite given by Peggy Ada, or Daisy Ada Reed, I think it is. Can't tell because of the bird droppings there. She also lived to be a good age though, 96, which doesn't surprise me looking at the area. Very pleasant. And I mentioned symbolism before I even entered the Abbey, and isn't this amazing? Just out the corner of my eye I caught sight of this gravestone dedicated to the Americans of the Second World War. Lots of synchronicity going on today. God rest their souls. The 7th photo group. Isn't that amazing? Sounds like they didn't even get anywhere but were killed here. Mount Farm. Quick look inside the Abbey. Apparently it survived the Reformation. A little bit different to the interiors of the churches I usually enter. Mainly because there's other people in here. I can hear a chinook outside as well flying over, poignantly. Yeah, wonderful little place. Still, must press on. Nice handy navigational aid there in front of the White House. This time turning left down by the allotments. Lovely bug hotel there. Brilliant. Hence the blackbird being in close proximity probably. Our onward journey here is obvious. River Wittenham, 1.25 miles, or the river being the Thames. Ignore that footbridge there, going left, with a pond on your left as well. Our onward journey is west. Oh, wonderful. They have a very short lifespan, so they have to make the most of it. It's a demoiselle, isn't it? Green and a blue one. Fantastic. Dorchester Abbey in the far distance. Old lockkeeper's cottage here, or some kind of waterboard property. No doubt privately owned. It's next to the footbridge that we now take over the Thames. Looking back at Day's Lock, which is where we were earlier. One final view of Dorchester and its surrounds. Very pleasant. And it looks like I might be lucky with the weather after all. Makes a change. Well, can't complain really, I suppose. Looking back at the weir from the tributary bridge referred to in the text. Little Wittenham church, that being St Peter's. More Earth Trust lands again, I've noticed. I also notice there's cattle on top there. No doubt they're going to have to be contended with. Good views of Didcot on my right. I'm taking these now just in case the cattle get me at the top. Halfway up, some great views back. Thames, Isis, Very strange name that. I wonder if that's why the group took that on. Bit of a coincidence. Lovely. There's the brick encased memorial, guarded by those bullocks, so I'm not going in too close, but good to know there's seats about. Any picnickers? There's a couple up here, I notice. A few more cattle here on my right. Not sure you can see them, but they're there. Wonderful views out that way towards Didcot. Great views towards the Chiltern Ridge, if that's what I think it is. Anyway, eastwards as I walk from the Clumps. Interesting name. Castle Hill Fort over there on my left. Not sure I'm going to bother going over to that. I might just zoom down to the car park ahead of me there. Views from a point next to Castle Hill Fort. Pretty impressive. No wonder they built a fort here. There's Didcot. And the Clumps behind me. Looks like we're on the 120 metre contour line here. Well, not often you see that. Dead magpie. I wonder what happened to him. And no kite, of which I've seen many today, has scavenged it yet. That's probably a bad omen for me. I need to press on, make sure I get that train. Looking back at Castle Hill Fort, and on my right the Clumps. As I continue my journey on this footpath next to the lane. Lovely bit of traditional hedging here. Fantastic. This must be done by the Earth Trust, whoever they are. I must investigate them. Can't say I've heard of them before. So this would seem to be their HQ in Little Wittenham. Interesting. And they're responsible for these nice gates as well. And the benches up on the hills, of which there's one there behind me. Okay, we're now headed on to the Arboretum, apparently. So the Earth Trust is an environmental learning charity. Makes sense. Google that if you wish to know more. This barn houses their big bale boiler, providing heating and hot water. Once again, as with last week, good to see a wildflower meadow surrounding the main crop. A lot of traffic coming out, air traffic coming out of, I guess it's Abingdon, Chinooks and what have you. Appropriate on D-Day, I suppose. Information panel here telling us what's happening in the fields. Okay, I'm just stood next to the telegraph pole with the grey transformer box on it, about to walk onto the road per the text. I'm not quite sure how I got here though, because the instructions are a little bit confusing, making reference to crossing a stile. That's not quite right. Probably the path's been ironed out a bit since the text was written, but luckily I downloaded the GPS version of this walk, and that shows the correct version. Filming this field here because it's another one of those red grass plantain type things. Lovely. And when the wind blows, a cloud of dust comes off it, spreading its pores, or spores rather. Dicey 150 metres of walking there. It's quite a busy little road this. Now headed on the road for North and South Morton. Okay, where the road bends left we come off. Do a bit of field walking again now, thankfully. So 20 past 5 and this is judgment time. So at this juncture, that's the Appleford ending, 3:30 degrees. Otherwise, if you're going to Didcot, continue straight on here. So because I've got plenty of time, hour and 20, I'm going to take the Appleford ending. This is wonderful to see again. As with last week, this barley's about waist height, just like it used to be in the old days. I'm not sure why the strategy's changed, but it used to be a lot lower, knee height. Maybe they've found something in the production of it that's better when it's longer, or they're using the straw. Okay, going through the lightly wooded area after 500 metres of barley walking, and this corner isn't indicated. You just have to follow the beaten down vegetation, of which there's plenty. That 50 metres of road walking just now was quite hazardous. It's on a bend, and at this time of night, 5:45, it's quite busy. So take your life in your hands a bit, even though it's only 50 metres. Nothing to walk on really, no verge. Now I've got a bit more walking alongside barley fields. Almost back at Appleford. Crossing over a nice new footbridge here. Recently been worked on by the looks of it. Passing the Pendon Museum. Google that if you want to know more. Passing the Three Poplars Park, which is a chalet village. Not dissimilar to the one I saw last week, but these don't look as good quality. Okay, coming up to 6:30, 13 miles and 5 hours later, and I managed to complete walk 44 on schedule. Nice walk that. Bit bland in places with all the cereal fields but other sections of it made up for that. Dorchester looked like a nice place if I'd have had longer to mooch around. But yeah, nothing extraordinary to that walk. Pleasant sections of riverside walking and a nice lunch stop in Dorchester. But yeah, a lot of serial walking, which could be problematical in the wetter months, muddy paths, etc., as would the riverside walking sections. But then again, the walk's too long for that time of year anyway. So the weather held out as well, so I didn't get wet. Fantastic. In fact, it's actually a very decent evening considering what's about to hit us tomorrow, Friday. So yeah, free walk 44 completed. Till the next time.